George Russell signs with Mercedes on a multi-year deal which sees him drive for 2026 only by the sounds of it, while Christian Horner may be going to fix Ferrari or fuck up Aston Martin. We'll see one way or the other. We're going to talk about all this and Austin in this episode of the Blatantly Biased Racing Podcast. I got the name right. How are you, man? BRBB.
Yeah, sure. BBRB.
Cool. Let's call it the BB Netanyahu
BBRB.
Racing Podcast.
Oh, no,
Cool.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Welcome to the Blatantly Biased Racing Podcast. Now here's a bald guy and some Indian.
Hey, so let's get into it.
Yeah. So how are you, by the way? It's been a while.
Yeah, it's good. This week, every single day, something came up where we couldn't
Yeah.
record. So
Yeah.
it is what
Apologies
it is.
to everyone who's watching. Actually, yeah, I should inform already. The post is podcast would also be a day later because there's a festival in India. It's Diwali, so I'll be at
Okay.
in town
Yeah,
at the
yeah.
time.
Yeah.
It's going
Is
to
that
be
where you
tough to
guys do Indian things? I would assume, yeah. Yeah.
Depends on which Indian you mean. Yeah. Anyhow, so let's begin. By the way, Formula One. A lot of things have happened. I think in the last 2-3 days we've been pretty much trying to cover all these things, but something came up for the both of us.
Yeah.
Let's start with the George Russell thing first.
That's probably
Not
a
the
good
George Russell
timing
thing
to do the
before
podcast
that.
anyway, because George Russell only came out yesterday. So
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, it's every day something came out, isn't it?
Yeah.
In the last
Yeah,
few
yeah.
days. So first, let's jump into the latest thing.
Mm-hmm.
And the latest thing is George Russell being confirmed by Mercedes for the 2026 F1 season. So should we set the table first, or I think people would be aware? Let's just set the table first.
yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so first of all, when Mercedes announced that George Russell and Kimi Antonelli will be driving for the team for 2026, the announcement that came, the press release that came in the mail, I was trying to find out just a couple of things, the fine print, which is basically the multi-year. It didn't exist for either of them.
Yeah.
And even the duration or anything specific, nothing. It's only 2026. Then you have a few people in the media. So let's see. The race, the athletic. I think the Telegraph and the Times and the Mirror maybe as well. So these are the publications that have shared that George Russell has a multi-year contract that goes into 2027.
Yeah.
None of the British publications other than the race has actually specified that. It doesn't clearly state that it means that it's a completely
fixed
vacuum
contract.
tight
Yeah.
2-year contract where there's nothing there's no exit clause or anything in place.
For people who aren't into this stuff, you'll probably hear a lot of reports and people talking about 2+1s and 1+1. So
Yeah.
the problem is the phrasing, right? So this is a multi-year deal, but it sounds like that multi-year simply means 1+1, which is a 2-year contract, 1+1, but not really, because the +1 means that there is an option for a second year, which likely means that Mercedes have the option to extend the contract, or both have the likelihood to extend the option. I think with Kimi, it's just Mercedes have the option to extend, basically.
It's basically the Lewis Hamilton contract.
Yes, exactly. So, whereas a 2+1 would mean fixed for 2 years, so he can't,
Yes.
unless George agrees to step down, basically, they've got a contract.
Retire
but
or
yeah.
something. Just
Yeah. Basically, unless George is willing to be bought out of his contract or pay out of his contract, he's not there. But a 1+1 means George could be kicked out without his final agreement to it.
Exactly.
Yeah, so
I
it
think
sounds
it's
like this is a
the table,
1+1,
right?
I
Yeah.
think.
Pretty much.
I've asked around, and everyone I've asked has said it's a 1+1. So
Yeah, I couldn't really get any information from my side.
but I've not heard anyone. I don't think you have either even considered that it's a 2+1.
No. 20. It's a 2-year deal.
Mm-hmm.
But what it means by it will go into 2027. That's what the 2-year deal means. There's
Yeah.
no talk about 2028.
Yeah.
So it's basically the Lewis Hamilton deal that he's gone. So just
which
for
is a
reference,
1+1, right?
yeah. So just
Yeah.
for reference, what happened with Lewis was at the end of 2023, mid 2023, he signed a multi-year deal with Mercedes. Early 2024, he announced that he was leaving Mercedes at the end of the season.
Yeah.
So what essentially was the case was within the first year, he could trigger an exit clause at the end of the season, which is precisely what he did at the start of the season.
Yeah.
That's the situation we face right now. So I actually put out a clip regarding the same on my YouTube channel and on Instagram. What's the biggest takeaway of the entire situation in your view? The entire development.
Well, I mean, clearly, I don't think George fully got what he wanted, and I think that Toto basically, the biggest takeaway is that Toto is still angling for Max in 2027, and he wants to keep complete options open to either replace Kimi or more likely George for 2027 with Max. Basically, that's his goal, because otherwise George has done everything he needs to do and performed as highly as he needs to just get a flat out 2+1, which would say like, oh, George is contracted. Like the thing for me is, if this was a 2+1 or a 2-year contract, it would be George is driving with us until 2028. Like that would be the simple announcement. So this is clearly a 1+1. This is all about getting Max in the car for 2027. And I think I've heard it from people you had, like, since last week, but since the last time you talked about it, you were pretty sure Max has a contract signed for 2027 or like a provisional option for 2027.
That's my
That's
theory.
what I've heard as well.
That's entirely my theory, that I think there is something that is signed between the two.
I'm pretty confident from who I've heard from that he has a provisional contract, which means just an option, basically. So there's an option there
the
between
Kimi
two of them.
Raikkonen thing that he did with Ferrari
Basically.
in 2007. Yeah.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. There's a signed document that they've got, like, this is what both sides would be happy with is signed. So now it's just, does Max get to leave? Like, does his exit clause go in 2026? And also, does he want to join in 2027? So there's a lot we'll get into about this, but I think that's the obvious reason as to why this happened. I don't think George wants a 1+1 contract. George clearly held out because he wants a 2+1, but Mercedes were unwilling to give it by the sounds of it.
And that's my biggest takeaway, that I think 2026 is the last time George drives a Mercedes. I think either ways, George leaves Mercedes at the end of 2026.
Yeah.
Because if the car is great or good, is contending for the title, Max is moving to Mercedes, because Red Bull is not contending for the title next season.
No. Well,
take that in writing. Yeah, take that in writing.
I mean, Horner did a lot of great work. So.
Yeah, we'll get to that later. But if the car is good and it is contending for the title,
Max is
moving to Mercedes for sure. And again, I've seen a lot of fans on X questioning why Kimi's seat is not under the scanner, and I don't think it will be. I don't think it will be under the scanner even next season. It will come under scrutiny in 2027. That's when the questions would start.
Yeah.
Until then, I think he's got a bit of a free rein. He needs to get his act together.
Yeah, essentially, unless next year he really just doesn't improve, like, at all, then I think it's...
Then sure.
Yeah.
He can't have a repeat of what he has this season.
Yeah.
Simply
he just needs... Even if he's just more consistently at his kind of top of what he was this year, he'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly. And even the alternative scenario, if Mercedes puts together a dog shit car and if the car is not good, Russell is not committing. He's not committing, and he's not making a commitment with Mercedes anymore, because
which goes back to what we were talking about.
Which is possible as well.
Yeah, which goes back to what we were talking about before. We've said for a few weeks now, which is Toto is really like, I don't think this has been pragmatically handled by Toto, because he's really gambled now. Because essentially, if he has a bad car next year, he's losing George and Max. He could have just lost Max.
And the position of the team boss at Mercedes.
I mean, yeah, if he loses George, Max, and Kimi underperforms, or, you know, like...
Even if Kimi doesn't underperform, if the car is not good in 2026, he's screwed.
Well, the other thing is, like, keeping Kimi over the long term is going to be tough as well. Like, if he doesn't have a car that performs, like, if Kimi gets to the point where he's performing like Oscar is now, for example, in his third season, why would Kimi stay at Mercedes? Like, he doesn't have any overarching loyalty to either. You know, like, he's young, he can move on. So
Ferrari.
there's I
Italian?
mean, yep. If they
won't suggest-
perform,
I won't suggest anyone going there, but
yeah.
there's Ferrari.
But
So yeah,
I would not be surprised genuinely if at the start of next season, if Mercedes are underperforming, if you see after 3 or 4 races George like signaling that he's got a contract with Aston, basically, because
depends right where Aston is.
Sure.
At this moment, we don't
Yeah.
really know where the pecking order lies.
yeah,
But there's a very, very strong indication from a lot of people. I'm not entirely sure how or why it is this strong, because even in 2014, 2013, this wasn't the case.
Yeah.
That pundits just came out and said that Mercedes has the best car.
yeah,
I never saw that in 2013. This time around, I'm seeing far too many people just come out and say that Mercedes is going to be the best car,
the problem
which
is
is very weird for me.
The problem is, I think, and like, I don't see anyone else talking about it other than this podcast, because obviously we're the best podcast, but the whole idea is just, oh, Mercedes will have the best engine.
Jake's, I'm forgetting
Alex
his
Jakes.
full name. Alex Jakes, sorry.
Yeah.
On the race podcast when he came, and his view was George Russell is fighting for the title next season for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Like without no doubts, no confusion, nothing. And
No
that
one else is mentioning that if Mercedes, like, I think we all agree that it is most likely that Mercedes will have the best engine. I think we're all just under that, which maybe they won't, but I think it's a pretty strong assumption that they will. But no one outside of this podcast seems to be saying, yeah, sure, but even if
McLaren.
Mercedes have the best engine, they're not going to be the best Mercedes powered team. Like, there's that. I think everyone thinks that it's still the way it was before, that basically having a works engine, it still gives you a huge advantage. The only
does, but
advantage
it's
it gives you now is the packaging. Like, being able to package around that engine and being able to build your aerodynamics around that engine. But all that does is limits the scope of what McLaren can do. But McLaren could still do a better version of what Mercedes tries to do with it. Or Mercedes might fuck it up again. They might go for some crazy idea like the zero pod and get it wrong. You know, like, there's nothing to say that Mercedes will have the best aero. And I think it's obvious that the aero now is going to be a huge part of these regulations, because the aero has been compromised to suit the engines. So the aero is going to be hugely
more like
important.
dialed up to 100.
Yeah.
How
So,
extreme they've made things.
which
there is this-
McLaren has
yeah.
a better team of, clearly.
I'd say yes. Ideally, I would agree that McLaren has a better team, but when you have James Allison in the squad, I'd still, it makes me take a step back and let's give it time. At the very least, Mercedes is going to be the second fastest car. Right.
Maybe it.
Yeah.
It depends how close the engines are. Like,
They won't be close.
I don't know. Like, Honda has a good chance of being quite close. I think they do. I think
Chance-wise, ideally, I would have said Ferrari should be close, because Ferrari right now, because to be fair, Ferrari right now is probably got the best power unit in Formula One.
and Ferrari are pretty good at making engines. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
Like,
just
generally
not in the
speaking.
first or second or third
Yeah,
year.
I just
They for 4 years before.
it really depends how close the other engines are, though, because if Honda or Ferrari, forget about Ferrari for a minute, if Honda are close, there's no reason why Aston Martin can't build a better chassis, a better car aerodynamically than Mercedes can. So if there's only a few horsepower in it, then I can see them being closer. You know, it
I think
really
there's
depends.
so many variables. I mean, I agree with you that there are so many variables. There's reliability, which is a major thing, because there will be only 4 power units next time around.
Yeah.
And even then it comes down to how the aero package, it complements the power unit or not. There are so many things. It's a lot. It's too big an unknown to make conclusions. I agree with you on that. But if I have to do a blind ranking, I won't be surprised if it's McLaren, Mercedes, and whoever else.
Yeah.
To be honest,
Yeah.
because right now we have no clue where Honda is. Pretty much no clue where Audi is. Apparently, rumors are Audi is doing better than they expected.
Yeah.
Then there's Ferrari, which seems is not on the right path. whatever sounds they're making, they're not good. And then we have the Red Bull power unit, which is, I don't know where they are.
The other thing is like I haven't seen like proper evidence other than the usual rumors of people going, "Oh, it has this much horsepower." Like it's like, where are you
Yeah,
getting
but
these
this
figures?
level of confidence is so rare for everyone. Even
It's
I remember 2014. I again there were
Nobody
things,
knew that was going to be the case in 2013. Yeah, you're right.
not no no in terms of Mercedes having a head start in terms of power unit. People expected Mercedes to have the better power unit. They did not expect them to
Not by
have a
the
better
amount.
car.
Yeah,
Yeah, they
yeah,
did not expect them to have a better car, and they didn't
yeah.
expect Ferrari and Red Bull to be so far behind. Because a lot of people forget 2013 Mercedes was still the best engine. Mercedes, Ferrari, and Renault, there was around 20-30 horsepower different, and even then Renault had the worst power unit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But now, but in 2014 it was 100
But
bph. That was the
but
difference.
that goes to my point. Like, I mean, if the difference in
HP.
horsepower isn't a huge amount, then the aero will become significantly more important, and that's where Mercedes, I would rank third or fourth. Like, I would genuinely even put Red Bull as it stands above Mercedes in terms of
Yeah, Red Bull
understanding of
is above
aerodynamics,
Mercedes.
because
It is.
Vache is still running that team. You know, Vache and Balbo are still there running it. Like, it's not like the only problem I see Red Bull having is, I think, when it comes to just the actual concept of like what the best concept is of a regulation set, I think they were still leaning heavily on Nui for that in the last, like in this regulation set. And therefore the question is going to be, how good is Vache and Balbo and their team going to be at
And how
coming
much
up
time
with
they're
the...
going to put in 2026?
That's
Because
also the case, yeah.
They've been very blunt. That
The only thing that we need to be careful of as well is that, like, there's a lot of assumptions that Red Bull will fall apart, but remember that the engine program was set up by Horner before he left and was gone. The concept that they would have come up with for these regulations, the basis for what is important to focus on, would have been set by Nui, because they kind of knew pretty much what was going on back as far as 23, for example. So Nui would have told everyone, like, this is what we need to focus on. This is the important bits of these regulations. You know, so while we didn't have the final regs, Nui would have still had a good bit of input there. So Red Bull could be in a good position. There's just a lot that they need to cake together. You know?
The thing when people say, okay, when I say that Red Bull is going to fall apart, or that this is the start of the decline, I'm not saying that within the next 6 months the team will capitulate.
No.
I'm saying we are at the beginning of a slow, you can say, disintegration. Something, and again, this is something that we've seen in Formula One far too many times, and it's just that because it happens so slowly, people don't catch on to it.
Yeah.
I think the best example is Alpine. 2022, Alpine finished fourth in the championship, and fourth. And from there,
They beat
in
McLaren.
2023, and they beat McLaren. And in 2023, they were supposed to be a team which, according to Otmar, they were on a 5-year project.
Everyone was talking about them making that jump to the top three.
Yeah,
so on,
slowly.
yeah.
And the thing with Otmar was he was going to go about it slowly and again, step by step, take it to that point. What happened was the whole board got greedy. They wanted to make the jump as soon as possible. They basically got spooked by the progress that Aston Martin had made. And then Otmar was fired. And slowly what we've seen is disintegration of Alpine. Right now, where is Alpine? In 3 years? It's right at the bottom.
Yeah.
And that's what happens when when basically you're impatient with how a team should progress through the... There are different stages when it comes to a team working properly. How Red Bull goes from where it was to where it will be. My main worry is that the board is not going to have the patience.
This is going to be the key issue, right? What's going to happen is next year, I would not be... My point of what I was saying about Red Bull, though, is I would not be surprised if they show up with a fairly competent package at the start of the season, but then the development is going to be very, very quick, and that's where it's going to be difficult to see what happens in a non-Horner situation, because it only takes one wrong turn for Vache where Horner would say, right, shit happens, let's give it a year or two, figure stuff out. That won't happen under a board. They make one wrong turn and it'll be like, oh, well, Vache's fucked up again, so he's gone now, or Mekis is gone now. They'll start making quick decisions. What I was getting to as well was more that with Mercedes, the other thing is we're all making the assumption that Mercedes will have the best engine, right? But this also is similar to Red Bull, not the same Mercedes HPP that it was a few years ago either, because Andy Cowell is now running Aston Martin, essentially. Andy Cowell was the guy who brought you the 2014 engine, the 2021 engine, the 2022 engine with they're basically the same, but you know what I mean. And then 200 odd staff have left there and gone to Red Bull powertrains, you know. That team has been gutted internally. And the question is going to be, is the new power unit team that's there, has that continued to like carry on? So as much as I do think Mercedes will be the best, it's not the same Mercedes HPP. Like, it's a lot of different staff. So there's still no guarantees even in that. We're all just assuming they'll have the best power unit. Like, we don't know.
This is based somewhat on reports from Motorsport and others, because they've been run on dynos already.
Yeah.
So
they're saying 570 horsepower compared to like 520 or something, or
for Audi.
Yep. So, but again,
we have to see. Reliability is a big question, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the whole point is, until and unless it's ran on track, we cannot be sure about anything. Plus, there's also a major element of how the racing is going to be.
Yeah.
Because it seems that we are going to see a lot more overtaking. The wake is going to be less.
Yeah.
But it's going to be very artificial in terms of where a driver can push and where he has to back off.
Yeah.
So let's see. As I said, a lot of variables. You just want to be in the right place possible.
Mercedes Zero Pod was the best in the wind tunnel.
Yeah.
It didn't work on track. So I know that's completely different to an engine, but the point is, you know, the figures that you get
run on track. Yeah.
Also, like, you know, sorry, we'll get back to George Russell in a sec. I know we just went on a tangent here, but like, the point is more, as Andy Cowell and all these guys talked about in podcasts and in various things before, like, you need to be very careful about the figures you have in your base, because you might be calculating things one way and it might not actually work that way in the real world, you know? So we could get figures like, oh, well, Mercedes have 572 horsepower in this. It's like, sure, but if you run your engine that way, you're not powering X, therefore you're not getting this level of output over the course of a lap. And it turns out that Audi
cannot be simulated.
Yeah, and it turns out that Audi and Honda knew this and Mercedes didn't, and therefore, sure, Mercedes have the most powerful output overall, but you can't use that on track. So all of these figures sound great, and we just have this confidence in Mercedes because of the last, 12 years. But we all thought that Mercedes would be the best team or one of the best teams going into 2022, and they completely shit the bed.
Yeah.
So there's just nothing is guaranteed in Formula One.
It's a lot of high stakes for Toto as well, isn't it? Because he's basically staked his entire legacy on it in so many ways. If it works out, if the car is good, everything is fine. He's basically put himself in a position where he can continue with the role that he is in. And he doesn't hurt his legacy. Instead, he basically enhances it.
And this is the key issue that we were talking about. I think you were just about to get to it, which is he's gambled, right?
Exactly. And then the other side is, if the car is not where it is supposed to be, or if the engine is not where it is supposed to be, you lose Max, you lose George. Kimi is there, fine, but Kimi cannot help you build a team or rally your troops. And in that particular situation, neither a Charles Leclerc, nor an Oscar Piastri, nor a Lando Norris, nor any other top driver is willing to come to your aid.
Yep.
So you're basically in a position where the board is going to question, how the hell have you managed yourself in the last 12, 14 months, where you've let go of one of the top 3 drivers. The power unit program is not in good position, and even the car doesn't look great.
Well, you're in the situation that kind of Zach Brown was almost in, which was, you've been promising us that essentially, look, yes, you fucked up for these regulations and you haven't kind of gone anywhere and you haven't understood what's going wrong, but you're now coming to a new regulation set that you've pinned everything on and it hasn't worked out. And like Zach Brown kept saying 24, 25, when we have our new simulator set or our new wind tunnel ready, we'll be ready to fight. If that hadn't have happened, we wouldn't be praising Zach Brown right now. We'd be saying, well, you've promised us for nearly 7 years now that you were going to fix this, and you're still 5th in the rankings. So telling us 2026 is going to be better is going to be your last chance. And it's not that 26 is going to be the last chance for Toto. It's just there's a lot riding on it. And that could be the point where you start to go, right, well, now you have a year, you have 2 years to fix this, or, you know.
And it's the entire case of when things go right, there are some critiques that exist, but they're basically pushed by the wayside. And when Lewis was winning, there were some critics that were there, like he doesn't win in this particular situation, X, Y, Z, whatever.
Yeah.
Those were just basically just pushed by the wayside, and everyone was silent.
Because the results on track are louder.
Because everything was papered over because success is there. Once the success has dried out, the critiques are back, and now they are right at the forefront. Toto himself has had this whole thing because Toto inherited a team that was basically built by Ross Brawn. Until now, that critique has basically been kept silent, that the team that Toto achieved all this success from was a team built by Ross Brawn. However, in 2026, if things don't go his way, that's when the questions will begin.
It's going to be the second regulation set that he's got wrong. And
Exactly.
the second regulation set that he fully built the team under.
Exactly. And at that point, there's no hiding. And that's when things get dicey, and that's when your legacy comes under question. Christian Horner had the same thing, right? Horner won in 3 different regulations. No other team principal has done that, at least on the current grid or in the modern era. And that's something a lot of people don't understand how tough it is. And that's where
the real test of leadership like that is how do you hold it together through the difficult times? And that's where Horner was very, very good. Obviously he was praised for winning, but look at all of the trouble they had from 2014 to 2021. And he was able to hold that team together and lose the least amount of people. And the board shouting in 2024 is what lost a ton of people. Like, a lot of people went, this is going to shit now, let's get out of here. And it wasn't because of Horner shouting. He was very quiet about it. And Toto now is in a situation of things have gone wrong. He's held it together, and he's basically getting everyone with this golden carrot of, look, Verstappen's going to come here for 27. But if he shits the bed in 26, Verstappen's not going there for 27. And as you said, Russell won't be either.
You know what we'll be saying if the whole thing just goes to shit? Drivers were never the problem at Mercedes.
Yep.
Something we said at Ferrari. So talking about Horner then, Horner and a team where drivers was never the problem. Ferrari.
Yeah.
So what's your view? I mean, you've gone through the rumors and everything. We all have. There have been rumors from one side, which is the Italian media. Then there's the other side, which is the British media. And both of them are saying completely opposite, completely doing the opposite reporting. In that case, what do we have when it comes to the Horner Ferrari saga, whatever you want to call it?
Yeah.
What's your take?
Well, first of all, there's no smoke without fire. So I do believe there has been talks. But I think, to be fair, we know he's been talking to basically every team. Like, there's been teams, even like Williams, where you're like, what are you talking about? Like, of course he's talking to every team, figuring out what their plans are, what they're willing to do, what their investment is, obviously. So yeah, he's been talking to Ferrari. The question is how advanced are those talks? The thing about Ferrari for me with Horner is there's 2 key issues. One is the key one, which is, as far as my understanding goes, he wants a stake in a team, or at least some level of control over the team. He's not going to get that with Ferrari. Ferrari are not going to give him 5 or 10% of the team. Like, it's just not going to happen, right? So the only way to back that up would be if they said, right, we'll give you 5 years or something to, like, where we'll leave you alone, you know, contracted. It's your team to run. We won't give you a stake, but whatever. And maybe he's thinking, well, the glory of turning Ferrari around would be a fucking legacy maker. Like, that would be, you shouldn't have fired Horner because, look, he was able to turn Ferrari around, you know, like, that would be incredible. I don't know if any Ferrari contract would actually be worth the paper it's written on, though, even if they said here's 5 years, because it's Ferrari. So that's a tough one. I don't know. Like, I could see, the only thing I could see him doing is going, okay, well, even if they offer me a 3-year contract, it's an interim thing where I can figure out what's going on everywhere else, or build something up elsewhere and get a shit ton of cash. But it's just because of Newey essentially asked for this on the technical side and they said no. So I don't know if they're willing to give Horner what he wants. So I think for the moment, this is all just talk. And it wouldn't surprise me as well if this is Horner putting pressure on somewhere else he wants to buy or somewhere else he wants to get into. Because if he's genuinely thinking of, say, Alpine and Aston, and they're going, yeah, but we're not going to give you 20%. And then all of a sudden Ferrari start going, well, we'll give you 100 million a year or whatever. That could, for Horner's side, that could be him going, I'd hurry up and give me what I want, because if not, Ferrari are willing to pay,
Just for New Eden.
Yeah. More or less, yeah.
The problem with the entire situation is I don't think Horner gets the stake within Ferrari. I think that is going to be almost impossible, because it's not even in John Elkann's hands to do something on those lines.
Yeah.
Secondly, even if he does, it's the entire case of it's a massive cultural change for him. A British man moving to Italy, and then just Ferrari is run a certain way. A Frenchman taking over an Italian team is still, to a certain extent, they take it because there's some cultural resemblance that is there, and they tend to. It doesn't come as a shock, but when a British man comes over and ultimately is handling the entire situation, first of all, the problem is going to be that Horner is going to bring an entire fleet of his engineers from Red Bull.
Yeah.
They're coming. Wherever he goes, that's going to happen. And once
that's going to be one of the big issues for Red Bull next year, right? Wherever Horner goes, 100%. They're going to lose a lot of top talent immediately.
Yeah. That's one of the things. And if that talent comes here, how it is going to gel with the originally Italian crowd that is there at Maranello? It's a massive cultural, you can say, clash, or there's going to be a lot of friction. To get on top of that is going to be a concern. And even if he does, the entire project, for it to become a Christian Horner project, is going to take years.
Yep.
And what he's already seen, what he's looking at right now is a scenario where Fred Vasseur has made his first mistake in 3 years and his seat is in danger.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So once you see this kind of attitude from a chairman and everything, it makes it hard to, be confident in your future within that team, especially after you've come from a team where you worked your ass off, built the whole operation for 20 years, and then be thrown out as an employee.
This is the thing. Like, let's just put a marker down here and be honest. Like, he's not getting a stake at Ferrari. Like, let's just be honest. There's just no way that's happening, right? If he gets a stake at Ferrari, I'll do something on this podcast, because I just don't see it happening. Like, there's
if he gets
no
a
way.
Stake at Ferrari, it shows how desperate John Elkann is. It simply shows that.
Well, yeah, but even then, I don't see. Like, who would they have to clear that?
It could happen. But the reason is, I mean, there's historic precedence there. Michael Schumacher, when he came to Ferrari, with a list of demands, and he made it clear that if you want me, these are the things that you'll do. If you don't, I'll leave.
Sure,
and
Horner
was in a position to do that.
I think Horner could do that, but I don't see how he would get a stake. Like, I can see him come with, I want a 5-year contract. I'm bringing these engineers. I have full say, and I want
give him 5% stake. That's enough for him.
I don't think he gets a stake. I just don't think even 5%.
I don't think he gets a stake either. But I think if he does, it shows both intent and desperation from Ferrari.
Oh yeah. Like complete desperation.
That's my whole thing.
Yeah,
and if that is the case, because I think at this stage what they've realized is, look, 2025 is gone, and this was probably their best chance to win a championship for the next 3 or 4 years.
Yeah,
I'm being very honest. For every Ferrari fan that is watching, Ferrari is not winning a title in 2026. They're going to realize that the power unit sucks, and then they're going to do what they always do, which is fire Fred Vasseur, and then start the rehabilitation process.
They always fire Fred Vasseur.
Exactly. Every story ends with that.
Yeah.
So that's what the next Ferrari step is going to be in 2026.
Yeah.
The reality is, they are trying to skip that step already. They're just trying to get they know that that is the destination where they're headed. They want to be there already, and from there start building what will be a 2 to 3 year head start for
Yep.
them. Either that, or they just let this be and do what arguably Luca Di Montezemolo did with Jean Todt in 1997, where he was about to be fired, but Michael Schumacher put his foot down and said, if Jean Todt is fired, I'm leaving, Ross Brawn is leaving, Rory Byrne is leaving.
Yeah.
So that's the situation. Either this or that.
I just don't see that happening purely because they had that chance with Newey. And I know this is Horner, not Newey. I know they're more desperate now than they were before, but it seems to me that Elkin wants to win and he wants to win his way. So he's not willing to give that control over. But maybe it's different with Newey, and maybe it's different because at the time they were talking to Newey, they were looking like they were on track to at least fight a little bit. And now they're not.
They hadn't lost Enrico Cardile.
They hadn't lost everything, full stop, yeah. Like,
yeah. I think this is basically, so just to pull back the curtain for you guys, guys that are watching and listening to it, if there is a report from Daily Mail, it's more or less the Horner camp that is making spreading those news into the whole.
Can I just point out, if you're getting your news from the Daily Mail full stop, just please stop. Like, just
not necessarily. It gives you, the thing is, you need a level. The thing is, this is where a lot of journalists have to be honest, where they are not. You need that level of media literacy to watch a report, interpret what is going on, and then
okay. So if it's Daily Mail, what you're saying is it's just a Horner report, basically.
It's basically Horner who is sending out the feelers that
it's Horner saying this is what I want or whatever. Yeah.
Horner is saying I'm in conversations with Ferrari. Now, whether he is or he isn't, or he's using it to leverage his position against another team, that's entirely up for grabs.
Yeah.
Same goes for Sky Sports, so Sky Sports had the best report where they said that the British side of their sources claim that Horner and Ferrari have had conversations, and their Italian side says that there's been no conversation, no development. So make of it what you will. So the Italian side is Ferrari. More often than not, their links are within Ferrari, and the British side is more from the Horner side of things.
Yeah.
So that's where we stand. In essence, basically, what Horner is trying to do is he's trying to leverage whatever little talks or negotiations or any conversation he's had with Ferrari for a better position at some other place. Yeah, and I don't think it is at Aston Martin.
So before we go off Horner, though, like there has been rumors of Aston Martin as well, right? What do you think about those rumors? Because I do think. I don't think it's going to happen, and I have my reasons for that, which I can discuss. But like, one of the reasons everyone says is, "Oh well, because Newey's there, he's not going." And I think that's the one excuse that I'm like, I don't buy that. I think I don't think there's an issue with Newey being there. I actually think the bigger issue is Andy Cowell being there, not Newey.
Andy Cowell
because Newey and him are friends.
Aston Martin Racing, right?
Yeah.
So first, the Newey thing, since a lot of people don't know this and a lot of media journalists have not really talked about it, Newey and Horner are family friends. Yeah, they spend a lot of time together. More or less every Christmas they are together. Yeah, they were spotted in which concert was it? It was
Oasis,
Coldplay or Oasis. That's where they were spotted together. So in terms of personal relations, there's nothing wrong with them. They can work together again. Yeah. The only problem is Aston Martin is already a team that has every piece in place now. There's no empty jigsaw, empty piece in the jigsaw puzzle that they have to fit. So it's just unnecessarily adding something when there's no need to.
Yeah. I think for me, the Aston Martin thing is, I think Andy Cowell is the right guy to have there for the moment, like 100%. And I also think that the only way that Andy Cowell is replaced by Horner, because Andy Cowell's CEO and team principal, right? So you would have to basically step down one of them if you wanted to keep both, which neither of them are going to agree to. Like, you would have to say to Horner, right, you're CEO, not team principal, and Andy Cowell would have to accept just being team principal, or Horner would just need to be team principal and not CEO to keep both. Exactly, yeah. So I think unless in the first 3 races Aston make a shit show of it and basically are like, right, we need like a Horner in. I just don't see it happening, but not for the reason that everyone else is talking about, which is, you know,
Really.
yeah, because I think everything else is fine. Like they have a works deal with Honda, which Horner would be happy with. There's no reason Horner couldn't get a stake in it. In fact, I would not be surprised if a Saudi backer is like, will pay for Horner's stake and he can earn it off or something. Like,
So the
you know,
Saudi PIF is ultimately, I mean, at some stage, it is going to take over Aston anyways.
Yeah,
Aramco is your Saudi, what is it? They are the which partner? Name partner or whatever it is.
yeah, title partner,
Title sponsor.
title
yeah.
partner, title sponsor. Yeah,
So they are already there, and it's only going to increase in the future. Look, Lawrence Stroll's purpose was getting the car to win the championship, and I think he'll try to win a championship. Once he wins a championship, he's going to sell it at the highest price.
yeah, without a
Lowest
doubt.
price.
He's just there to get his son a title, which just
It's
isn't
basically a humiliation ritual for Lance now. I mean,
kinky.
I mean, what's next? No, seriously, what's next? It's going to be Max Verstappen. Now they're going to replace with after Alonso. So he's basically going from what it was Checo, then Vettel, then Alonso, then Verstappen.
Yeah.
By this time, whatever little shred of, you can say, confidence or faith Lance would have in his driving, that would be gone. So,
Oh,
yeah.
like 100%. Yeah, like gone.
And yeah, so that's there. I had one interesting exercise, by the way. So this is something another thing I did a reel on, because that's the new thing that I'm doing these days. So let's assume Christian Horner does go to Ferrari. Somehow, some way, John Elkann is desperate. He gives him a 10% stake. Go have fun. And
Yep.
from that point, Horner has full freedom, do whatever he wants to. There are three things. What are the first three things that he would want to do? Three big things that Horner would do on his first day or in his first year.
I mean, first things first. Obviously, he has to replace Lewis Hamilton. No, I'm kidding. The first thing, I guess, is, oh Jesus, I don't know. Like, where do you even fucking begin with that? First thing is you need full control of the board, which I guess goes without saying, right?
I'm saying
When
common things that are possible.
Okay. Gets Leclerc on board for a 5-year contract or something. Basically says to Leclerc, look, stick around. Gets rid of Hamilton because Hamilton complaints and stuff are too annoying and he's costing too much money. Pulls over Pierre Vache or Balbo. I think he gets one of his big guys from Red Bull over as quickly as possible. And I would not be surprised as well if he gets some guys he trusts from the engine team over as well to kind of, not to overhaul the engine team, because I think Ferrari is a good engine team, but make sure he knows what's going on, who's spreading bullshit, all this sorts of thing. Yeah, I think those are the key elements, right? I'm not sure what else he could do immediately, but I'm guessing you have something that you think he should be.
You basically spelled out the same 3 points that I had. My first was hire a top quality driver, and if Leclerc is, I won't be surprised if Leclerc is not willing to commit beyond 2026, because 8 years of Ferrari is too much of Ferrari. And if he leaves, then he leaves. And if that happens, I think Horner would try to target George Russell, get him on whatever 2, 3, 4, 5 year, whatever
That's a fair point I hadn't thought of. Yeah.
Once that is there in place, the second thing I would do is I would get rid of Lewis for one very simple thing. 2 alphas within the same team, that's not the principle that Horner works with.
Yeah.
And secondly, he cannot build a dynasty or an era with Lewis in the same team. It's just not going to work. There will be unnecessary friction, and I don't think he wants that. Third thing is, to a certain extent, bringing engineers and key people from, basically bringing his confidants from Red Bull. That is one thing. I think he would also try to take over the power unit side of things so that everything is under one roof.
Yes, I think that's a fair point as well.
Exactly. So when it comes to Ferrari, ideally the thing is that the points that we are making, if even Fred Vasseur goes ahead and does these things, it should help Ferrari a lot. And I think the point is, these are very if you've seen the sport for a while, for a decade or so, you would see that these are the key checkpoints that every team tries to tick.
Yeah.
But we have Ferrari that isn't willing to learn, apparently.
we you could have just ended that sentence with then we have Ferrari.
True, true.
Nothing else is needed there. Yeah.
Yeah. Apparently, this pissed off a lot of Lewis Hamilton fans that I can understand. Again, I can understand, but to a large extent, I've said it a few times. If Lewis has to try to target to win an eighth, he has to go to Audi. I
Yeah.
don't think even now Audi is possible because Gabriel Bortoleto is apparently a phenom, and you don't want to find yourself in a position where even you're losing out to another young driver. So yeah, that's where Lewis is. Now, the whole thing with Ted Kravitz, you've seen it?
I've kind of somewhat I don't really understand what's going on here, so I may need you to
Okay.
explain this to me.
Okay, so the situation entirely is that remember last season when it was when basically Max and George fell out in Qatar,
Yep.
the whole qualifying penalty thing.
Mm-hmm.
So once that happened, Max I think called George a two-faced person or something after the
Yeah.
race, and he had a lot of things to say about him.
Mm-hmm.
And in the very next race, which was on the next weekend in Abu Dhabi, George Russell came to the media and he had a lot of choice words to say about Max, where he called Max a bully and some other things.
Yep.
Apparently, those comments that he made, he had premeditated.
Mm-hmm.
Everything was the speech, everything was quite prepared. I mean, if you look at the clip, you can say that it is quite prepared.
Yeah.
Apparently, Ted Kravitz has a book out where he spills the
God.
beans on a lot of things, and he said that George came up to him and told him to ask a follow-up question. When you're in the pen, you're not supposed to ask a follow-up question. You just ask one question and that's it.
Yeah.
Then the next publication asks another question. But
Okay.
he basically pulled him aside and told him, "You're free to ask as many follow-up questions as you want."
Right. Okay.
And he explicitly told him that I'm going to give it back to Max. So that's whole situation.
This was going to give it back to Max in the sense of in the steward's room, yeah?
No. In the media, where he basically where George had this whole speech prepared, right? He came out and said that he's a bit of a bully. He has these things to say and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So that's the entire situation. Now so a lot of fans are first of all surprised that a driver could try to use the media to manipulate a narrative.
I don't know why that's surprising, but anyway.
Apparently it is, and a lot of people have jumped on George that he was a bit two-faced. Essentially, when he did the whole thing.
Yeah.
So what's your take on the whole thing? I'll give my minds in a minute.
Honestly, if it is true, it wouldn't surprise me because George plays games. Like, George is very good at playing the game.
Yeah.
In Formula One, and he knows how to fuck with the press and fuck with everybody. So it's not really that surprising if George actually did that. The only thing I would make me skeptical is one, it's Ted Kravitz, isn't it? Who isn't the most reliable source in general, and also he's trying to sell a book. But that said, I guess if I had to guess on it, like I'd probably say it's true because if Ted just made that up, it's going to make for something very, very awkward with George later on, unless George is basically saying, yeah, I want people to think I'm that kind of prick. So, yeah, I guess it's probably true though, right? Like, what's your thinking on it?
It is 100% true. I have no issues with it being true. I think it is perfectly fine because I think it's very common practice. I think the one area where George was a bit sloppy was when he didn't have Ted. He didn't have Ted's confidence. He wasn't a confidant for him, right?
Yeah.
That he would keep his word and he wouldn't really spill the beans and basically put it out in the public. That's where I think either he could have gone ahead and said that keep this off the record.
Yeah.
One of the basic practices for any journalistic standards. If he had done that, then maybe the whole thing would not have. Maybe Ted, in that case, Ted was not Ted should not have then come out and said the whole thing.
Yeah.
I think the big problem here is people do not know exactly how the whole media manipulation things go. So
Yeah.
here's how some, I won't name names in terms of which publications are involved. Max
Mm-hmm.
Verstappen has a few Dutch publications where he basically tells them to ask which questions he want to be answered.
Yeah.
Lewis Hamilton has his key people in the media. Fernando Alonso has his key people in the media. There's one in BBC F1. You know who he is.
Yeah.
I mean, that person is quite open when it comes to things like these. Christian Horner, we've already talked about him. Toto Wolff has his people. Zach Brown has his people.
Yeah.
Every key you can say every key paddock personality, they know how to mold a narrative and they know how to use the media to cultivate a certain image of themselves,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how things work. So while the one area where I think George was sloppy was he thought that since he's from Sky and apparently he will take his side, Ted has gone ahead and basically monetized the whole thing, which is probably not a good look from Ted as well. And I'd be surprised to see how Sky Sports deals with something like this. But
Yeah,
that's
that's
where
going to
we
be
are.
interesting from them, isn't it? Like, what are they going to say about this? You know, like, 'cause
Pretty much.
Ted basically now has like made himself an enemy in the paddock, someone who he needs access to. You know, like, so what do you do there in that situation?
That's the thing. That's the
But
major problem.
as I said, it is Ted Kravitz, so like,
What are his colleagues going to say about it? Because the thing is, there are so many things that have happened right now when it comes to the revelations in Ted's book,
mhm.
then the Horner Ferrari story, then the Russell Mercedes thing. There's so many questions to be asked, and
Yeah,
what is going to be asked, we don't really know. In the end, what the media will address when they ultimately start talking about things in Austin, which is going to be, I think, in a few hours now.
yeah,
But yeah, let's see how they really approach the whole situation, because it's very interesting. I think Max is going to be questioned about it for sure.
yeah,
I
yeah,
think George
definitely.
is going to be questioned about it. Let's see what answers they give. That's
Well,
going to be.
Max's one will be interesting, that's for sure. Whatever way he comes at it, you know.
He's probably not going to take shots at George because of the whole
True, yeah.
relationship with Mercedes that is there.
Well, unless Max decides it's funny to kind of respond, oh, it's fine, I'll have a seat next year anyway, so I don't really mind.
That could be.
Well, in 2 years, sorry, in 2 years.
2 years.
Not
1
next year.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. 1 year. Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Interesting stuff, though. But yeah, Ted is an interesting character, isn't he? Cool. Okay.
Yeah. Now probably the most important thing which has basically been pushed down in the news cycle, the title battle that we have, because Oscar Piastri leads the championship. He's ahead by just 22 points from Lando.
Yep.
63 points from Max Verstappen. How do you think it completely pans out? Because we have 6 races and there are 3 sprints as well. How do you see the whole thing panning out?
It's going to be interesting now, I think, to see if Max is actually in this as well, because I think that could really screw with things, right? Because it's, well, not just Max even. We've got Mercedes in there too. I still think in terms of the title, it's still Oscar's to lose, personally. I still think that's the way it's going to go, because I do think McLaren more often than not should be the faster car. And it's very much like Oscar damage limitation now for the rest of the season. And Oscar is generally quite good at that. The last couple of races haven't been great examples, but generally pretty good. I still think there's an outside chance that Max could be in this. And I think this weekend's going to show that. I think if Red Bull are very strong, like if Red Bull win this weekend, that for me is like, okay, Max is in this now, because we've got Mercedes in there at a couple of tracks. Ferrari don't exist. And then we've got we've got Piastri and Norris taking points off each other, where you could have swings of 15 or 16 points between Max and Oscar. You know, that will make a huge difference. But for right now, until the end of this weekend, I think it's still Oscar's to lose, because I think Norris is doing well, but I think Norris will have more fuck ups because it's Norris. So
Yeah. The last 4 races, Norris has finished ahead 3 times. So,
Yeah. but I
22
don't know if
points.
that will
Yeah.
continue, you know?
Yeah, yeah. No, that's fair. I'm I think this race we can kind of plus this weekend we have 34 points on the table. There's
Yeah.
25 from the race and 9 from the sprint.
Mm-hmm.
And again, when it comes to 9 from the sprint, it's basically you have to nail the qualifying. Once the qualifying is perfect, from that point onwards, it comes down to how it just comes down to how you have the start in the sprint, and from there it's just smooth sailing. There's not many issues that you'll face.
Yeah.
And when we talk about temperament and making things count when things are tough, I think that's where probably Oscar is going to take the edge over Lando.
Mm-hmm.
It just depends where Max is in the whole scheme of things, because Max is going to play a role in the championship. How he does that, will it be pro Lando or pro Oscar? I think that's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about let's preview the US Grand Prix in Austin. So first of all, what do you expect? Yeah. Okay, by the way, before you even begin, they've
Mhm.
changed the tire allocation this time around. Great job apparently from them. So last year we had C2, C3, C4.
Mm-hmm.
This time we have C1, C3, and C4. I hope I'm saying it correctly. It's not. Yeah, I think yeah. It's C1, C3, C4. So there's a step between the medium and the hard.
Right.
Last year we didn't have any step. It was C2, C3, C4.
Okay.
So
So are they
e-
going? Okay. So they're going. They're going lower. C1, C2, harder or lower? Did you
Harder.
say?
Harder.
Why?
Exactly my question.
What? Like, are they? Are Pirelli paid to make racing worse or better? Like, I'm not sure anymore because it feels to me like they're trying to make the racing worse.
I see the point that they are trying to make to a certain extent. What they are maybe trying to do is they're trying to push towards a two-stopper because the hard is going to be too hard, and hence it's not going to have the kind of race pace that you need, and hence
Yeah.
it would be a neglected tire. At the same time, we are expected to have a very, very hot race this time around.
Yeah.
So whatever benefit that was going to be there, it's basically negated.
Right.
In essence, we are going to have a one-stopper. That's the whole thing.
I don't. Okay. Okay. What? Yeah. Okay. Right. Well, Pirelli, thank you for fucking the race up.
The problem is, what has happened with them is they've built their tires in such a manner that last season they had C2, C3, C4. I think it was C2, C3, C4. I hope I'm not fucking it up.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
C4 tire just only lasted a lap. It won't last more than that. And then you
Yeah.
had which was the soft tire, and then you had the medium tires, which would last 10 to 15 laps or 20 laps, roughly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then the hard tire did the rest of it. If you get rid of the hard tire and you go one step softer, you only have a medium tire. You only have last year's medium tires that did 10 to 15 laps, and then that's it. Your medium and softs, they're not going to do anything. That's the problem that they face.
I don't get the point of this. I don't.
Yeah. As I
Let
said
me
far
double
too many
check
times,
this.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Just check on
Pirelli
ChatGPT. I think it's C2,
tires.
C3, I think C5 is the softest one, which is not here, if I'm not wrong.
There's an article here. So let me see. Yep. C1, C3, C4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Okay. So I like the C1, C3 step. I like that. I think that's a good idea. But I just wish they would just for the rest of the season go C1, C3, C6. And just make it so that like you really have a good bit of like room to fuck around with.
But the problem that happens with that is your soft tire is useless.
Yeah,
and
I
it is
guess.
gone. That's the whole problem. That ideally how the tire compounds, how they have. Sorry, am I
No, you're
audible?
good. Yeah, you're all good.
So how I would prefer the tire allocation to be is your soft tire, it does 10 laps, not more than that.
Yeah.
But it is faster than the medium. Your medium tire does 20, 25 laps.
Yeah.
and your hard tire does 40 laps.
Okay.
That's how it should
that
be
makes
ideally,
sense.
but we don't really have that. Our soft tires are useless. They last a lap, and
Mhm.
even that is a bit of a pain. And your medium tires, sometimes the medium tires do more than 50% of the entire race stint. Sometimes they do nothing.
Yeah.
It cannot be this extreme because it just kills the strategy. You don't really have any strategy. You have just one race tire and one tire that you are just hoping to get by.
Yeah.
That's where we're stuck, to be honest.
It just, yeah. Hopefully next year we get decent racing, right? Let's just hope.
I mean, it should be fine.
It won't be.
The overtakes would be there, but the racing is going to be quite weird. If
We'll see.
the race did an entire video on the whole thing, it seemed a bit weird the way they're actually talking about it. I'm not entirely sure it's that straightforward, but yeah.
Yeah.
Anyhow.
Yeah.
So, anyways, coming to the race weekend, how do you expect the
Pecking order.
your top three?
I think this personally is going to be Red Bull, McLaren, and then Mercedes. I've just lost all faith in Ferrari, as I think Ferrari have as well. So yeah, I think it's going to be Red Bull, McLaren. I think Red Bull have figured out their shit, and I think that it's going to be Red Bull then McLaren this weekend. I think there'll be a couple of sectors where it'll be back and forth, but I do think it's going to be Red Bull, McLaren. And I think that Red Bull will have the slight edge, but I think it's going to be very, very, very close. And when it's very, very, very close, you expect Max Verstappen to make sure that he extracts everything from everywhere. Whereas I think Oscar is finally feeling a bit of the pressure, and I think Norris is going to do what he always does, which is screw up somewhere under pressure. So it'll be interesting to see Norris win this weekend after I've said that. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it's Red Bull. Ferrari, I think, will be fourth. I've no confidence in Ferrari.
I don't think they have any confidence left either. It's becomes the Ferrari and Mercedes are such enigma, isn't it? We have no idea where it's going to
And
ultimately.
the thing is,
the whole thing will
Ferrari
fall.
don't know where they'll be either, and neither do Mercedes.
No clue. Honestly,
Yeah.
no clue.
Yeah,
That's the problem. Ideally, look, hotter temperature, it should help Ferrari, but then we had hot temperature in Singapore and Mercedes won. So
Yeah.
we can't really make I don't think even they know how they won, which is even funnier. So
which goes back to our earlier conversation, right, of why we're not confident in Mercedes for next year.
not at all. Not at all. Which
Because
is the
they
biggest thing, yeah. So yeah, I mean, to a certain extent, I agree with you because look, if we talk about the Austin, the lap around Kota, the first sector has that long straight, and then you have basically the Senna S's, similar to Senna S's, and that is
Yeah.
where you see you need good change in direction. Then you have again another long straight, which is massive, and again, the long straights are going to favor Red Bull.
Yep.
The wiggly bits, it can go either ways. Then Red Bull has made significant improvements when it comes to the slow speed sections. We saw it in Singapore.
Mhm.
The problem that Red Bull could have potentially faced would have been on the tire wear side, but then we've brought a harder C1 tire.
Yep.
So maybe the FIA is Red Bull biased, apparently. Austrian biased somehow. So
yeah. Must be. That's the only real obvious answer, isn't it?
probably. So that might be playing a role. And if that does, then ultimately tilts it more in favor of Red Bull.
Yeah.
You add the whole thing up, it seems that Red Bull should have the edge. And if Red Bull has the edge, and if Max wins both the race and the sprint, he's at the very least he's going to close the gap by 8 points. Right?
Yep.
If Oscar is second in both races.
Mm-hmm.
He's on target in that case. So,
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's see what happens.
I genuinely, it's seeming interesting that I think it was the Race podcast made an interesting tidbit, which I kind of liked, which is at the very least, the good news is that even if Max can't get into full title contention, he's still going to spice up the title, because he's going to be in between those two. And it'll mean that we'll get like bigger swings throughout the season, that way. So yeah, I think this is going to be a fun title battle to the end.
I really hope we don't get into a situation where Max decides the championship.
Yeah. Yeah.
because that would not be I think that would be something that screws things up for a lot of people that are watching. It would be it would leave a bad taste. By the way, this is something that has happened in MotoGP in 2015, where so Marc Marquez was not in contention that season. Valentino Rossi and his teammate Jorge Lorenzo were.
Okay.
And in one race, which Marc ended up winning, Valentino Rossi basically accused Marc Marquez of trying to play favoritism towards his Spanish counterpart, Jorge Lorenzo.
Okay.
As a result, in the very next race, that was in in Sepang, Jorge Lorenzo just marches off ahead, and Marc
Yeah.
Marquez ends up having a ridiculous wheel to wheel battle with Rossi. Now, if you're battling every lap, you're changing positions 5 to 6 times, you're basically losing seconds per lap. So
Yeah.
within like 4 or 5 laps, the gap was around 5 to 6 seconds in front. And it seemed a bit blatant. It seemed like he was pissed off, that Marquez was pissed off that Rossi had accused him of something like this. And then comes the very infamous incident, which I think a lot of fans might not be aware. Rossi basically, once when he's trying to overtake Marc Marquez, he basically kicks his bike and throws him off.
Okay.
And as a result, in the very next race, he was given a pit lane start, and that basically decided the championship.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
Let's hope Lando doesn't kick Max Verstappen's Red Bull, and we have a bit more fair championship. Because apparently there is needle between the two, and a part of it comes down to what happened in Singapore. It's basically building rivalries, right? So
Yeah.
let's hope it doesn't turn into something which Max makes it personal and just intentionally tries to block one driver and help the other. So yeah, let's see.
I don't think it'll go that far, but hey, stranger things have happened, right? Like,
I mean, he said it will be remembered.
oh,
Who
great.
knows what it means?
Yeah. Well, let's see.
Yeah. What's your prediction? Top three.
I'm going to say Max, Norris, Leclerc, because I've counted out Ferrari, so I'm going to put them on the podium now just to wind everyone up.
Put Lewis there, right?
No.
By the way, Lewis has been ridiculously brilliant around Kota. He has 5 or 6 wins or something.
Well, you're going to annoy people now by putting Lewis and has been in the same sentence.
Okay. I didn't intentionally, but you did. I mean,
I know you didn't
love
intentionally.
winding people up, isn't it?
Yeah.
So,
Me winding people up? Never.
Never. Yeah.
Surely not.
Good. In my view, I think Max wins. I think Max is going to win, not because I think he'll have just a dominant car, but I think the fact that you have a C1 tire, it means he'll gain the lead, and from there he'll just manage everything from there onwards.
Yeah.
And from there, we've seen it last season, how he managed things around when you had basically Lando chasing him down.
Yeah.
I won't be surprised if the same thing happens. I think Ferrari is a bit of a dark horse, because reminder, Ferrari had a 1-2 finish at this track last year. So this team knows. I hope I have to measure my words. I was about to say this team knows how to win in Austin, but yeah, I would not go ahead and say that. So this team won here last season. Maybe this time around they won't.
What do you mean maybe?
Yeah, they won't.
They won't win around here.
They won't. It's a bit bumpy as well, right?
Yeah.
Lift and coast, baby. Lift and coast.
Yeah, they're not going to win around here.
They're not going to win anything.
Don't give people
They're not winning
hope.
anything this season. They might. Who knows what they do next season?
Yeah.
But dark days are ahead for Ferrari. Either way, it's not looking good. Anyways, it's Max, Lando, and Max, Lando, and Oscar. I don't think it's going to be different. I think Mercedes is going to struggle. The elevated temperatures, the focus on rear tires, that's not their strength. And when it comes to Ferrari, I have no fucking clue how it's going to work. But I doubt it's going to be competitive against either McLaren or Red Bull. So yeah, you have McLaren, Red Bull at the front, and you have Red Bull winning.
Yep.
There you go.
Which I think is a fair statement. I think that's going to be the case, yeah.
Yeah. So
Yep.
yeah, I guess that's it. Yeah, we're wrapping it up early. Well, 1 hour.
Yeah,
or
I
9
guess
minutes.
there wasn't like a huge amount to talk about, and we kind of ranted at the start. So yeah,
Yeah,
there we go.
no race weekend, no. We'll probably
No.
yeah. So just a reminder, we won't be doing the post race one on Sunday night.
Mm-hmm.
We might do it on Monday night or Tuesday, depending on when I'm able to come back from my hometown. So
Yep.
yeah, cool. Okay, thanks for watching, guys. Take care. Hope you have a good one.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.